right, guys, why don't we get started? Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card that we are starting our day off with today is... My, oh my, is feminine having a little bit of a glow up today? We are seeing here the feminine is coming through right now with our Queen of Cups. Now, we love to see this, and then let me articulate upon why. Because yesterday we saw the fact that yesterday for the journey for feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. A lot of the journey that we saw for the feminine energy yesterday was coming into a state or space of vulnerability, being able to find a way to express themselves that is allowing some of the clearing up of some of those blockages that we were identifying that were coming out of that Venus in retrograde cycle. Feminine was coming through in a way of speaking from a place of authenticity and vulnerability. Now, one of the challenges that we identified, though, is while the feminine energy was moving into a space or place of having that authenticity of self, there was still a lot of blockages in relation to the heart space. We saw that with our Empress energy that was coming through in its reversal. For feminine energy, this is feeling to a certain degree like a bit of disassociation here, because while the feminine energy is doing a lot of internal work right now to open up in this capacity, there is still a part of recognizing that the feminine energy is continuing on this healing journey. This is indicating the fact that for a lot of the feminine energy right now, there's still a feeling that while you're trying to move forward from this state and space of authenticity and vulnerability, you're still feeling a lot of this closed off energy in your heart space. For good reason. We're seeing here that the solution to feminine being able to come forward in this way of authenticity was directly the result of the feminine energy having to shed a lot of doubt, anxiety, and fears. There was also an assessment to a certain extent. The feminine energy recognized and realized that in order to move forward into new opportunities, either with past masculine energy or new opportunities with masculine energy, there was going to be some level or degree of necessary risk that the feminine energy had to take on upon themselves to be able to proceed in that fashion. This has been a bit of a struggling point for the feminine, which is why we saw a lot of that heart space still being somewhat closed off yesterday. What we're appreciating right now with this Queen of Cups energy coming to the forefront here is the fact that this is feminine energy almost observing this characteristic within them even as they are experiencing it. This is what's allowing the feminine energy to move from a state of balance at this point, because rather than feeling reactive or allowing themselves to be closed off, feminine is considering that heart space blockage with a lot of care and consideration. Almost a level or degree of objectivity that is helping the feminine energy identify what they need to do going forward to help open up that heart space. For masculine, you may be seeing a lot of these qualities and characteristics right now in the feminine energy, because what we are really identifying at this time is masculine. A lot of the messages that we saw that were coming through about the retrograde cycle was a deeper understanding of where the feminine energy is, almost starting to have some of that light bulb moment in terms of getting a better understanding in terms of the perception of the feminine around some situations and circumstances. This either has to do with situations and circumstances that you are finding new feminine energy in, effectively understanding what may have led them to be in this space or place where it is hard for them to open up to this degree. Or simultaneously, this could be situations from the past that you are understanding to a different degree or perspective, the trauma and the grief that has been carried by the feminine up until this point that has been made it hard for them to open up to you completely at this time. For both energies, this is a very positive move in the right direction. Now, second card for our 5-card spread for today is... We love to see this card today, especially in combination with our Queen of Cups, because what are we really seeing here? Not only are we seeing that feminine energy is being able to maintain a level or degree of balance as it relates to their emotional center. They are utilizing it for very practical purposes right now. A lot of communication, a lot of planning, a lot of progress. This is feminine energy experiencing a blockage in the heart space, looking at it from an objective space and not effectively allowing it to prevent them from how they need to go forward at this time. One of the reasons feminine is potentially doing this right now is because while feminine may be feeling some sense of emotional dysregulation due to some of that closed off nature of the heart space with that Empress in its reversal. We are also identifying the fact that feminine is trying to look at that as objectively as possible and to conduct themselves in a way that is going to help others truly understand where they are. This is leading to a lot of potential productive movement right now for feminine in the realms of planning and communication and potentially even travel. For masculine, this is effectively potentially seeing this right now from a feminine energy that's able to maintain this level or degree of balance. This is also causing you to a certain extent to communicate and to move even more rapidly towards this energy. We will point out that one of the difficulties, one of the challenges that we identified yesterday for masculine has to do with the masculine energy's own vibration in terms of wanting to move much more quickly right now than the feminine energy may be feeling effectively comfortable to do. Feminine energy, even yesterday, we saw that there may have been that slow down energy that had to come through again. We identified that because I said, and I warned that some of the masculine energy to make sure that you don't necessarily jump the gun on things too much yesterday, because there was that possibility there in terms of some feelings of frustration coming through. And what we really identified here is for a lot of the masculine energy, we do see a lot of that fast movement still occurring here, but we almost are identifying and recognizing that you're putting into more productive spaces and places. Potentially even either, again, if you are in partnership at this time, working in collaboration with balanced feminine energy, emotionally balanced feminine energy, that is helping you almost re-channel that sense of excitement and urgency into other spaces and places right now, recognizing that the feminine energy is coming through in this very steady vibration. For others right now, this could be a lot of communication, travel, or even or just straight up movement right now. A lot of focus towards a feminine energy that you are recognizing maintains this quality and characteristic of holding a level of degree of emotional balance. This potentially for masculine energy that is coming back into contact with feminine energy, you may also be recognizing some of the sea change that occurred in some of this feminine energy through that retrograde cycle. This is almost potentially even further bringing you forward towards them at this time. While for other parts of the masculine energy right now, it is that level or degree of openness that you identified yesterday, that star energy coming through, that ability and point of recognizing that while there may be a feminine that wants to move at a little bit of a slower pace for you right now, it's still progress, and we see a lot of directionality to try to move towards that energy. Third card coming through right now in our 5-card spread for today is we have here, we love to see this card today. We have the Lovers card coming up, and it is in its upright. This is beautiful because what this is really showing today is there's a level or degree of feeling a deep harmony coming through. We've been seeing a lot of these partnership cards coming through. This is progress is what we're really identifying and seeing here, because you will recall that we received yesterday that 2 of Cups. There was a lot of focus on partnership right now, but there's almost something here that is starting to feel like even a grander partnership, because while we identified yesterday that there was more just this moment of trying to reach a level or degree of balance, yesterday was all about looking and seeing if there was a sense or space of equality that could potentially happen right now between the masculine and feminine energy. Now, for a lot of this energy, this is the moment of finding that center, finding that point of calibration, and really trying to move forward right now to build something that feels like it can grow into something that is larger than the sum of its parts. For masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership and union right now, this is feeling that level or degree of empowerment from the partnership itself that is further empowering you into other explorations, other opportunities that are now effectively amassing around you at this time. This is potentially even putting a lot of your own energy right now into outside situations and circumstances beyond the partnership or union. While for masculine and feminine energy that are not in partnership right now, this could potentially be feeling a lot like you're feeling that Collectiive energy coming into play around some energy that's around you that is allowing you to kind of expand your own vision, to expand your own horizons right now in terms of the possibility of what you are thinking about in partnership. For feminine energy, if you're not necessarily in partnership right now, it is this focus, this manifestation goal that you are really orienting on that is helping you maintain a level and degree of emotional balance at this time. Because what you are really recognizing at this moment is, again, a good, solid, foundational partnership is one that is going to be able and respectful to be on your timeline. Potentially, we saw that with some of that slowdown energy that effectively had to happen yesterday, that we saw the feminine had to kind of put back into a point of statement, potentially towards some masculine energy that they felt was potentially moving with a little bit too much vigorousness. Now, for masculine energy right now, we are seeing that connection point, that moment that is potentially bringing some point of inspiration to you as it relates to partnership at this moment, potentially could be around a feminine energy that you recognize a level and degree of emotional balance towards. A feminine energy that effectively you may feel to some certain level or degree cannot be shaken to a certain extent, or is able to have a level of degree of composure as it relates to their own emotional center at this time. This is even something that you may have identified, recognized yesterday as it relates to some of the emotionally difficult or we did see yesterday there were some emotionally difficult conversations that were coming up, potentially even triggered by that Empress in its reversal energy. But it is the identification of feminine energy that is able to navigate from this capacity that is further encouraging you forward in this directionality. So we still see here that for both masculine and feminine energy, even if it's not in partnership at this moment, there's a lot of concentration right now on moving into something that feels like that is that higher divine union. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card for our 5-card spread for today is, we have here the 6 of Cups in its reversal. Now, what are some of the challenges that are effectively coming into play here, potentially as it relates to some of this partnership or union energy? Well, we are seeing the fact that there is still something here that feels fundamentally unhealed. This is some of that retrograde energy that is coming into action or focus at this time. Because what we are really identifying right now is this moment or this level that may be feeling for some energy right now. And I need to point out, this could be feeling like a deep frustration point at this time for some of the energies that are experiencing this, particularly energies that are not in partnership and union at this moment. Because what we are really identifying that is happening at this moment is that for many of the energies, there is a deeper recognition or a deeper understanding around the situations and circumstances that shape or frame a union that feels like a higher aligned partnership versus spaces or places that feel like they're just unhealed karmic connections. Now, for some of you, this is what is being utilized right now as a point of navigation and orientation to help you move through some of the traumas or hurdles that you're effectively been experiencing thus far. This is some more of that release energy that we've been identifying has been happening right now, specifically towards the feminine energy. This has been what's allowing the feminine energy to maintain a certain level or degree of emotional balance and composure at this time. Because what we're really identifying is feminine is recognizing the difference between unhealed karmic energy that they may be feeling a pull or a draw or a need to, versus spaces or places that they feel is coming from a place of equality, of harmony, that's going to lead to something that feels like it is the greater of the sum of the parts. Feminine energy is utilizing this point of orientation to help navigate them forward from this time. It is still difficult work because it doesn't necessarily discount or devoid any of the emotional attachment that they may feel towards some of these unhealed karmic connections. The question that is really occurring is whether they can come into a space of healing or whether they need to be shed at this time. Hence why the feminine energy is moving right now with a lot of objective review on their own emotional space to determine if this is a state or not. For masculine energy, you are also effectively experiencing this right now. You are also doing a lot of work potentially in utilizing and looking at this, identifying the spaces and places that you are seeing that there is that higher union partnership possible, versus spaces and places that you may also be feeling called back to that don't necessarily feel like they are in a healed vibration. Now, one of the challenges that may be effectively happening for masculine right now that may be feeling a little bit more triggering and a little bit more difficult, which is why we are potentially seeing so much urgency as it relates to the masculine energy at this time, is there could be a moment that for some of the masculine energy in this collective right now, you are recognizing that this is the same place. that what has effectively happened right now, because as we've identified that during that Venus in retrograde cycle, masculine developed a better understanding of where the feminine energy was, a different point of view that helped the feminine masculine energy recognize what they needed to bring forth to the feminine to potentially heal partnerships. The problem with the masculine energy that we are effectively seeing at this time is for some of the masculine energy, that understanding, that clarity is now helping you focus right now on a feminine energy that you now consider is in a point of emotional balance. The problem is the fact that you recognize that while you see the potentiality here for that higher aligned partnership, you are also potentially recognizing that that same partnership is in a space that deeply needs some karmic healing, that it is not necessarily a healed partnership, that there's something here that needs to be amended and corrected, which is why we see that capacity and urgency around some of the masculine energy at this time that is literally trying to move towards this feminine energy as quickly as possible, because they're trying to heal the connection. Feminine at this time is looking, even at this moment right now, with a lot of potential trepidation, because what feminine is effectively doing at this time is feminine trying to identify this and make sure that any of the energy coming towards them right now, they're trying to identify whether there is that possibility of healing, or if this is something that just needs to be released because it's in an unhealed vibration. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership at this time, there's just a lot of productivity that is coming into play, because what we are really seeing right now is for the masculine and feminine energy in partnership, this is potentially a lot of work that you are doing in partnership right now, potentially even around issues about outside energy that's in an unhealed vibration, potentially any issues around family, any issues around some partners, like some difficulties with friends or things on the outside nature. These unhealed connections are something that you may be putting a lot of time and effort and energy into today, getting and receiving the support while being in partnership as you proceed to do so. Continuing to get clarification, final card for the 5-card spread before we start to get clarity on these cards right now is 3 of Cups in its reversal. For both masculine and feminine energy that is effectively feeling this right now, there is like potentially a lot of shift that's occurring right now, a refocusing or reorienting right now on one's priorities. Even for the energy right now that is in partnership at this time, there could be feeling a lot of consolidation of your own energy into the partnership at this time. This could be even putting a lot of weight right now in terms of some of the outside obligations that you're experiencing. Because while we see that there's a lot of productivity here at play, there isn't necessarily potentially a lot of time or energy that can feel like it can be expended on outside pursuits. So there may be a lot of recalibration that's effectively happening here as you make some points of adjustment. There's a lot of very serious concentration that is effectively happening here. We're also seeing that again for a lot of the masculine feminine energy that is in partnership or in higher union right now. A lot of the energy that you could be expending today is potentially around some partnerships that need some point of correction. This is looking like those unhealed energies, potentially issues or matters around family or difficulties with friends right now, or even potentially some friends outside of your own purview that you feel you have not been in connection with for some time, or you just want to effectively check up on. For masculine and feminine energy not in partnership at this moment, this is that identification point on getting serious. For masculine energy, we are effectively seeing the fact that there's a moment right now that masculine is really looking to focus their energy right now on a specific feminine. We will identify that a lot of the lessons that came through the Venus in retrograde cycle was a deeper understanding to masculine in terms of what they needed to bring forth the feminine at this time. The difficulty for masculine that's happening at this moment is that understanding, that alignment with your own feminine is potentially been recalibrating and reorienting your own needs and desires and partnership at this moment. For you, for a lot of the masculine energy right now, it could even be a situation or circumstance where there are a lot of other options on the table right now. This is not a situation or circumstance that there is potentially a limitation for the masculine energy in terms of what is around them at this time. The problem or the difficulty or the hurdle for some of the masculine right now potentially may have to do with the fact that your focus is only effectively on one particular manifestation of feminine right now, because your own priorities are changing. And there's something about recognizing and identifying the fact that this feminine energy has this level or degree of emotional balance, even through some trying circumstances right now that you may have effectively either seen for their own past, or effectively seen as some of the situations and circumstances that you have engaged with them in the past, that is keeping this fixation or this drive very much directed to the singular energy right now. So for the masculine, we're seeing that there may potentially be a lot of degree and care and consideration right now trying to be paid to healing a specific partnership at this time, recognizing that the one that you may be potentially trying to move towards right now needs a lot of work. And this is that moment that is helping the masculine energy effectively try to decide if this is something that can be fixed. But if it can't be fixed, it's going to feel very frustrating right now, because the masculine energy is almost at a point right now of trying to identify or feel that point of frustration in terms of some of the point of not necessarily being interested in outside situations or scenarios at this moment. For feminine, this is a moment that is also kind of building this point of calibration for you, because what we're really identifying at this time is the feminine energy is also moving into a space of emotional balance. They're navigating that space right now. They're utilizing a lot of points of communication at this time. A focus right now is also to them around this sense of divine union or divine partnership. Feminine energy is looking at the energies around them at this time to really navigate and determine if they feel like there is this possibility of that higher aligned partnership at this moment, or if there's too many karmic connections right now around feminine energy. Feminine energy, I need to stress this, isn't effectively looking to heal any of these unhealed karmic energies at this time. Feminine energy is trying to almost have an approach of identifying them so that they can be shed. Because what we're really seeing here is feminine energy is just looking at any of the unhealed energy right now as something that is creating a space or state of distraction for them at this moment. Feminine energy is not in a mood to do anything that feels like it is putting them into a space of distraction. Feminine energy is really trying to call back their energy and focus on what is important to them at this time. For both energies right now, there's a lot of care and consideration in terms of the idea of divine partnership, that bringing into space that idea of creating something that is larger than the sum of the parts. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Cups in combination with our Eight of Wands. So for feminine energy right now, we love this. This is very, very productive, because we see here this feminine energy is maintaining and laying into a state of emotional balance. They're using that point of emotional balance, channeling these things into productivity, communication, movement, travel, planning, all of these things coming into play right now. Masculine, what we're really seeing is this is potentially a lot of communication and planning driven towards a feminine energy that you also see is in this vibration right now. Almost a complete focusing of energy towards this right now. For masculine and feminine energy right now, this is a lot of productivity if you are in partnership at this moment, because this is masculine feeling the support of emotionally balanced feminine energy to help them navigate and to get things done today. You're almost getting that emotional support, masculine, as you do these things. And for feminine, that is also receiving a lot of the support in the partnership at this moment that is helping you build this level or degree of productivity. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 10 of Swords. So moments of completion, moments of allowing some cycles to come to a close. We love to see this right now for both masculine and feminine energy, because what we are really identifying right at this time is this is a moment that is allowing for some points of transformation. Feminine energy, as we said, is moving into a state or space where they are utilizing their points of emotional equilibrium at this time to help determine the spaces and places that feel like there are these productive path forwards between the cycles that they are effectively looking or trying to seek to close out at this time. Feminine energy, as we said, they are not in a space or place right now where they are looking to hold on to any unhealed karmic energy. What we're really seeing right now is feminine energy is effectively moving into a vibration where they feel like it's not their responsibility to have to heal the karmic connection. Feminine energy is effectively moving into a space where they want to see whether the energy is ready to meet them where they want to be found. And if not, then that's all the information that feminine needs to let go of that energy to a certain degree. This is allowing feminine energy that moment right now of objectivity that is required to open up the heart space. What we've been identifying over the last few days. What is feminine doing right now to allow for that building of the cleansing of the heart space? Feminine energy is recognizing what feels like they can go forward, what feels productive, versus what needs to come to a point of closure in order to move forward from this point. A lot of that clearing out of the energy that feels like it is not in a productive space at this time. Masculine, one of the reasons that you may be feeling that sense of urgency right now, moving towards feminine energy in this capacity or degree, is potentially because you feel or see that this is happening with the feminine. You are feeling the anxiety of the fact that the feminine energy may effectively close you off to some degree or capacity. We saw and we recognize that with the last few days, because one of the things that we saw was that for some of the masculine energy, this opening that we identified, this point of authenticity and vulnerability that the feminine energy reached yesterday, was one that I feel has been a real challenge point up until this point, coming out of the Venus in retrograde cycle. A lot of the masculine energy, you feel like potentially that you were like wanting to pull your hair out because you felt like you couldn't get a foot in the door. You couldn't get any access point here. Yesterday, we saw a little bit of that breakthrough, which is why we're seeing the fact that for masculine, what's so hard or difficult at this moment is that masculine is kind of being asked to take it slow from the feminine. Like the feminine basically opened up and basically said, take it slow. And the masculine energy is effectively like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? You just opened the door to say 5 more minutes. And the masculine energy is wanting to make sure that that doesn't happen again, because that's the anxiety and fear right now that's coming through. Masculine energy is very worried. Again, with all of this moment right now, that the feminine energy is closing out the cycle instead of allowing for a productive path forward, even in the sensor space of the feminine saying that they want some path of productivity forward. This is what's building some of the urgency right now with the masculine in terms of trying to come forward and to communicate and make plans with feminine energy at this time. Masculine and feminine energy in partnership at this moment, this is a bit easier. Because what we're really seeing right now is, again, for the masculine energy that is going through this cycle right now, this is a moment of feeling some of the support from the feminine energy that's around you. It is either leading to spaces and places of productivity, right? It is allowing for some of that productivity to come about to a certain extent. And it is also allowing you to feel like there are some cycles that are closing out around you at this time. This is even potentially working right now with feminine energy to really plan that course ahead. But a lot of this planning that you may be doing right now, masculine, if you're in some of that level or degree of divine partnership right now with feminine energy, is recognizing where you're seeing that productive path forward and potentially talking about what you feel is just not necessarily serving yourself or serving the relationship and needs to come to a point of closure. This is something that is allowing for deeper productivity at this time. And there may even be some moments right now that masculine is feeling some point of frustration or anxiety or doubt or fear right now that is going to effectively be bolstered or uplifted right now by the feminine energy that is coming forward right now with this level of a degree of emotional support and objectivity. From feminine energy, this is simultaneously going through some of this process right now, closing up some cycles, moving forward in progressive places in others, feeling the support of the balanced partnership energy that is helping you effectively allow for that productivity as you move forward from this point. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our 8 of Wands in combination with our Lover's card. So a sense or space of productivity, really focusing right now on the ideal partnership, what makes that strong ideal union. This is allowing for that communication, that planning as you go forward from this point. This could be a lot of work right now if you're in partnership to lay out some of these plans as you go forward from this time. A lot of communication spent right now outside of the partnership itself. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, there is potentially going to be a lot of communication around partnership at this moment. A lot of discussion about these things right now, but with a focus on these higher aligned union energies that we are effectively seeing at this time. For feminine, this is that goal that is helping you really navigate what you want to proceed forward with versus any cycles that you want to close out at this time. For masculine as well, this is potentially more of this moment of orientation or understanding of recognizing something that you are feeling has a tremendous amount of potential to move into this vibration and putting a lot of time, effort, and energy and communicating towards that energy at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? clarification coming through right now with our Six of Wands in its reversal. This is some of that bittersweet energy that we have been seeing in the cards over the last few days. Because what we're really seeing right now is this is a moment of having to navigate some setbacks, some hurdles. Where are some of the setbacks and hurdles that we're seeing? Well, for masculine energy right now, this is that moment of identifying and understanding that for some of this energy that we're seeing at play right now, particularly if these are old situations or circumstances that you're trying to go back to with a sense of healing them, you are making that point of understanding that there's something here that feels like it is a bit of a struggle point. You're not necessarily coming at them from a space of feeling like victory is imminent, that success is imminent, because it's really more riddled with uncertainty at this time. Because even for the masculine energy right now, there potentially could be a point of understanding and orientation around some karmic paths that have been unhealed from the past. Not necessarily recognizing a need or degree to want to heal them, because you see the possibility of a divine partnership now in these same spaces or places. The problem is that you can't necessarily erase or eradicate any of the unhealed karmic energy that came prior to this point. You're effectively feeling to a certain degree like you're actually almost suffering the consequences of some of those situations from the past that are now weighing down upon the possibility or likelihood of partnership at this time. There could even be a lot of communication right now from masculine energy towards feminine at this time in terms of having to identify some sense of regretting what is effectively potentially come through right now that needs to be corrections. For masculine, this is effectively having to identify some situations or circumstances that you're feeling some of this regret towards at this time. From feminine energy right now, this is also coming through to a certain degree or a certain possibility, because what we are also seeing and recognizing is the fact that you are also feeling the weight of those unhealed karmic partnerships in terms of what you're trying to move into right now in terms of the divine partnership. For the feminine energy, there's a moment right now that you're really just weighing. You're looking at anything that feels unhealed. And for feminine right now, there's a strong degree of feeling like there isn't potentially something that can effectively be healed there, is what we're really seeing. There's doubt, there's uncertainty, because what we've really been identifying to the feminine energy is feminine is not in a vibration or space where they want to be in a point of healing. Feminine wants to move into divine partnership. They want to move into divine union. They're not in any situation right now where they're feeling any eagerness to move into any karmic energy that's going to require some level or degree of repair work. This is really for the feminine energy a moment of saying, like, make sure that you've come and brought your healing to the door. Show me that you've effectively done the work if you're coming back to me. Because if you're coming back to me and you're still in a space of being unhealed, feminine energy is just willing to be in a space or place of rejecting it at this time. That is the doubt and uncertainty that feminine's having right now that has been creating some state or space of trepidation. For the feminine energy that has past energies coming towards them at this time, this is what feminine energy is effectively potentially trying to articulate and communicate at this time. Where some of this slowness is coming from, where some of this anxiety and these doubts and these fears are rising up. And for the masculine energy that's even new towards feminine at this moment, a lot of this could be also articulating to that masculine energy where these doubts and fears arose from, even if the masculine energy wasn't necessarily the manifestation that brought those unhealed connections to the feminine's doorstep. So again, a bit of the masculine and feminine energy having to experience and endure almost the issues and the circumstances that arose from the past karmic cycles. For masculine right now, again, this is feeling like that point of correction. That is potentially also expressing your own regret about where potentially feminine finds themselves at this moment, but trying to move forward to see if there's this level of productivity that can be reached, even as the understanding of the situation itself feels like it is creating a bit of a bittersweet energy for the masculine in terms of making them doubt if there's going to be a level of success possible. For masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership, this is effectively having to deal with a lot of outside points of conflict today, is what we're really seeing. There may be some circumstances that are potentially arising right now, especially as it relates to some energies outside of the relationship itself that are creating some points of frustration, or creating some points of uncertainty. But we are also seeing right now that the feminine and masculine energy in union and partnership are doing everything they can right now to support one another as they have to go through any of these setbacks or hurdles. But the importance and value is recognizing that a lot of these setbacks and hurdles aren't necessarily even coming from the partnership itself. It's coming through from more of the energy outside of the partnership that feels like it is in a need or space of healing. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Lovers card in combination with our Six of Cups in its reversal. So we are seeing today that there is a deep, and this is going to feel like a little bittersweet. I have to warn all of you, because what we're really seeing is occurring right now is a lot of concentration towards very powerful energies. What are those powerful energies that we are seeing the concentration is towards right now? That is between the Lovers card and the Six of Cups. So the difference between divine partnerships, and divine partnerships don't even necessarily need to be romantic. I need to stress this. A divine partnership, a lover's energy, doesn't necessarily need to mean that it is in a romantic vibration. It can be any partnership that feels like there's alignment of energy that leads to something greater than the sum of its parts, versus the spaces and places that you are looking at that feel like they are unhealed karmic energies, energies that do not feel aligned, energies that feel like they're requiring you to put in more than you're getting back. A lot of this concentration between these 2 points today that needs to be navigated, trying to determine and discern the orientation and the difference between those points today. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Wands in its reversal. We love to see this. This is coming through. I need to stress, this isn't just a spiritual matter at this moment. What we're really seeing here is this is coming through right now to a certain level or degree as a practical issue. There's only so much time. There's only so much energy that one has at one's disposal. What we're really seeing here is a moment that for the feminines especially, there is this moment of potentially having to look at some situations or circumstances around certain things and effectively feel like you just have to kind of shed them at this time because your own bandwidth doesn't effectively allow it to effectively happen. Why is that happening? Because feminine energy is keeping their focus right now on the partnerships and the alignments that they feel that they're seeing that level or degree of either possibility, potential, or practical experience in. Something that feels like it is a blossoming effect that is occurring around them in the partnership versus something that feels like it is more transactional or something that feels like it is an imbalanced transaction. Feminine energy is effectively choosing where they're putting their energy going forward right now. And this is feminine energy effectively again. What's feminine energy looking at? Progress or cut. But it's almost like not even a personal sense of shedding at this time. It has more to do with the feminine energy's own bandwidth. Masculine at this time, this is not the same thing. For the masculine energy not in partnership at this time, we are seeing here that there is this moment or degree that you are trying to move forward right now with divine partnership. You are also kind of recognizing right now that you have a limited amount of time and energy, and you are trying to utilize it to move into this as quickly as possible, if you will. There's something here that is very important because masculine energy, you kind of recognized or learning the value or importance or significance of the divine partnership. We saw that that was the lesson that a lot of the masculines learned during that Venus in retrograde cycle with some of the orientation and understanding of coming into alignment with their feminine energy. The thing for the masculine right now is there could potentially even be a singular representation of feminine right now that you are trying to move towards with a lot of speed. But again, identifying either what has occurred between you both in the past that has created this hurdle or blockage, or experiencing the fact that this feminine energy has gone through such a high level or degree of trauma right now that they are hesitant to let new energy in, is also something that you are putting your time, effort, and energy and attention right now into trying to correct, even at the sake of potentially relinquishing other energy around you at this moment. Because there's something here that is almost feeling like a target, like a laser focus right now of the masculine in terms of finding something that they are seeking and wanting to move forward towards it with such a level of care and degree. The problem for a lot of the masculine energy that's focusing on this right now is the fact that that feminine energy that you're identifying is probably saying one thing to you and one thing only, which is wait, slow down, stop. So this is very frustrating for the masculine energy at this time, because there's the anxiety that even though you're moving towards something right now, you're not necessarily sure if it's going to produce the victory or the outcome that you're hoping for at this moment. Masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership, this is a lot of that practical application being put into circumstances and situations outside the relationship that feel that they need some point of healing or facility brought to them. So this is just a lot of that external work we're seeing, because we're almost seeing that there is some point of crisis. I need to point this out. Almost some like point of difficulty or devastation that's being experienced outside of the relationship from some outside energy that needs to be navigated and mitigated. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Six of Cups in combination with our Three of Cups in its reversal. A moment or feeling right now that is requiring some point of difficulty. There is a seriousness that is coming into play right now, a focusing right now on what is feeling like it is supportive and stable right now versus spaces or places that we are identifying require some level of degree of healing. For feminine, this is getting into a very no-nonsense approach about things. Feminine energy is not in a space or place where they feel like they're in a mood to go into any sense of levity at this time. They're not looking for things that feel like they are distractions. One of the reasons that feminine energy is also shedding some unhealed karmic energy at this time is feminine energy just doesn't feel like they have the time or space for anything that is distracting them from their cause, from their purpose going forward from this point. For masculine, this is that moment that you yourself are also potentially getting to a level of degree of seriousness that needs to effectively be navigated and considered. For the masculine and the feminine energy that is in partnership right now, this is potentially having to do with a lot of issues around outside energy, outside and beyond the partnership itself. Situations or circumstances that either require healing, potentially even in family dynamics or family systems, or very close friends is what we're really seeing here. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our star in its reversal. Again, what we're really seeing right now is this level or degree. And we're seeing for the feminine energy right now, there is something that feels a bit like a point of frustration. Because around some of these circumstances, between the feminine energy effectively having to shed some of these unhealed karmic energies, we will point out that one of the difficulties that came into play with the feminine energy is what was the lesson that the feminine energy needed to learn during the Venus in retrograde cycle. Feminine energy has a capacity and capability right now in terms of potentially overgiving to things when they don't get back in kind. That was a major lesson that the feminine recognized right now. This work that the feminine is doing right now around closing out some cycles with some of this energy, either the unhealed karmic energies right now, or potentially the energies that they feel that they don't have the ability or time and attention to be able to put forth to these places right now. Feminine energy is feeling the anxiety of being misunderstood, in what they're effectively doing at this time. Feminine energy is almost experiencing a point that feels like a point of stress at this time, because being able to shed energy like this is almost coming through as a hurdle and difficulty for the feminine energy, because the feminine energy effectively doesn't want someone to take it into the wrong way or take it personally. So feminine energy is doing a lot of work right now to try to maintain a level or degree of authenticity and even a balance of their own emotional composure at this time, even as it relates to navigating some of these spaces. But we will also point out that this feels potentially a little bit one-sided, because while feminine energy is effectively trying to operate in this zone, one of the reasons feminine energy is effectively trying to move away from some of this energy is due to the fact that the feminine energy doesn't feel like they can be their most authentic expression of self around this same energy. So this could be a little bit of that push-pull that we're seeing right now for feminine as they navigate some cycles or some situations where it's not that there isn't a connection point there, but it is feeling to a certain degree or a certain capacity that it is certainly unhealed. And feminine is trying to do everything they can right now to navigate that space appropriately. Masculine energy right now that is going through a connection point with feminine, you are potentially feeling the anxiety of this. This is exactly what I'm saying with the fact that the masculine energy is trying to move forward right now with such a degree of like rapidity or fastness in seeing the feminine energy that basically just opened up to you a little. Because what we're really identifying right now is masculine energy. You are feeling the anxiety that this is feminine energy effectively doing this at this time. That the feminine energy isn't necessarily potentially opening up to you. You're feeling the anxiety and fear that this is them opening up so that they can close down, right? And that's why the masculine energy yesterday was even trying to like move forward so quickly, because they were worried that that was potentially happening. We're seeing here that there's almost a level of degree of this still continuing to happen right now, especially for the masculine and feminine energy that's not in partnership at this moment, because there is this anxiety and fear right now from the masculine that is occurring and is feeling like such a point of frustration. Because what are we seeing with the masculine energy? The masculine energy right now is recognizing the fact that there is something that is unhealed. Their concentration and their direction is still very much focused to a singular manifestation of feminine at this time. But the problem is it doesn't feel like that feminine energy is still in a space or place where they're being fully open, fully authentic. There was a bit of a window to it yesterday, potentially. There was something that opened up there and then felt like it quickly closed again. And for the masculine energy right now, this is that moment because it didn't necessarily, it's still a point where it's like the masculine energy's focus is still towards this energy, but that energy is still not necessarily accessible to the masculine. For masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in partnership at this moment, what we're really seeing and identifying is, again, there could be a lot of support right now that the masculine is effectively having to give the feminine right now, because as we are identifying, there is this moment or opportunity that's effectively arising at this time that is feeling like a bit of a challenge or trigger point. Because what we're really identifying at this time is the fact that the feminine energy is lending a lot of emotional support right now to masculine through some situations with outside energy that feel a little bit devastating or difficult at this time. There could even be some closing out of difficult cycles that's occurring. Feminine, for their part, masculine is potentially seeing this as well. Some of the issues that effectively could be arising right now for masculine could potentially even have to do with the feminine. These are joint issues that are happening, masculine and feminine in partnership with outside energy. And having to navigate this space right now is creating a bit of a hurdle, because what we're really identifying right now is this is potentially the masculine having to come into a space or place of feeling like they need to defend the feminine energy from some of these circumstances or situations that are occurring around them, because the feminine energy is in a state or space where they feel like they themselves are trying to navigate some of this unhealed karmic energy, but they're not necessarily in a space or place where they feel like fully authentic and vulnerable to be able to do so. So there could be a lot of work right now in partnership that just as the feminine energy is emotionally supporting the masculine energy is jumping to the aid of a feminine that feels to a certain degree that they're not able to effectively hold their own as it relates to some of the unhealthy energy that is surrounding them at this time. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our 10 of Swords in combination with our 6 of Wands in its reversal. So, a moment of cycles being closed out, a moment of allowing some points of closure to occur, but also some disappointment as it relates to some of these circumstances or situations. This could feel like some pretty heavy energy right now. This could potentially even be having to bear some level or degree of burden that comes through today that is very important to notate. But for the masculine and the feminine energy right now that is working through issues in partnership, for the unpartnered energies, this is going to feel like a little bit more of a point of devastation coming in, because what we're really seeing right now is feminine energy is potentially doing a lot of work right now to communicate in terms of spaces and places that they feel that there is a productive path forward. Hence that 8 of Wands versus spaces and places where there just feels like there's some kind of limitation point. This is something that for the feminine is creating that point of difficulty, because feminine doesn't like to effectively disappoint anyone. So this is something that is very hard for the feminine to do, because feminine energy doesn't want to be effectively in this vibration where they have to close out cycles of this nature. Okay? While for masculine energy right now, this is feeling some of that anxiety and fear right now, that this is something that could effectively be happening right now around some feminine energy. You're feeling a lot of movement right now towards this energy, but also experiencing the anxiety and degree of disappointment or frustration, potentially fearing that there is a cycle that's closing out around some of this energy. And that is very hard for you, masculine, because we see that you're trying to move towards it with a lot more clarity at this point. While for masculine and feminine energy not in partnership right now, this is having to operate and deal with a lot of outside circumstances that may be feeling very challenging today, that are building the sense or level of degree of disappointment that needs to be experienced and worked through at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Hanged Man. There's something here that feels like it is a difficult situation, something that feels like it is creating a space or place where there isn't necessarily an easy solution. There may even be feeling right now something that is adopting a bit of a wait and see approach, okay? But what we're appreciating about this is this wait and see approach that we are recognizing and identifying is one based in terms of getting a fuller understanding of circumstances or situations. For feminine energy right now, this is that moment that we are identifying and seeing that one of the things that you're potentially doing at this time is potentially looking at these circumstances or situations, and this is giving some more of that time. That is how effectively allowing feminine energy to utilize this as a point of a productive factor. Because what we're really seeing here is this is a feminine energy that is feeling some sense of frustration or difficulty that they're currently experiencing. But feminine energy is effectively adopting the ability and degree of allowing time to help them navigate through this hurdle, almost taking a little bit of a fatalistic approach around some of these circumstances and situations, allowing a degree of saying that while something, it may not necessarily be ideal in the moment, time will tell if it can reach a space or place that it will feel better or it will be at ease, that this is something that needs to be potentially momentarily experienced and endured, with the recognition that it is not something that will occur forever. Feminine energy that is in partnership right now with masculine, this is potentially the level of support that you're bringing in right now to the masculine energy. You're helping them not necessarily get triggered by reminding them that whatever of these setbacks or experiences they're having right now that may be feeling so devastating or difficult or overwhelming, they're going to pass in time. For masculine energy right now, this is something that is potentially going to feel more like a hurdle and burden for you. There's something that you're currently experiencing right now that is feeling very difficult. It is something that is feeling almost like a sense or degree of profound frustration around this. There could potentially even be feeling right now that there is some closing out of cycles that are occurring around you right now, masculine, that could be feeling a bit overwhelming. You, again, if you're in partnership at this moment, you're getting a lot of support from the feminine energy around you, that emotional support to remind you that this is something that will get easier in time. While for masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership, this is much heavier because this is potentially built on the relationship itself. What we're really seeing right now for feminine is, again, there is some moment or experience that we're seeing right now that feminine is potentially observing some karmic energies around them, and they're not necessarily seeing that path or the ability to come into a state of healing. This is feminine effectively has been potentially having to try to communicate this right now to that energy. And this is something that feels very disappointing to the feminine in order to do. So there is something here that feminine is potentially even articulating to that energy that's around them right now, that time may adjust how feminine feels, that this is where the feminine feels at this moment. But this is something that may be open or related to change when the feminine energy is in a space or place that feels like it is easier to come into the state of healing. Masculine energy for your part, this is potentially seeing this on the part of the feminine. You're feeling that anxiety. You're feeling that level of degree. You're feeling like the feminine energy, and this is that difficulty or hurdle, is you're feeling either, and this is very difficult for masculine energy right now that's experiencing this, on either side of the collective, because it looks so similar. Why am I saying that? Because on one side of the collective, the feminine energy is asking the energy that they want to move forward with for more time. They're telling them to be patient. While at the same time, the other part of the collective is receiving information from potentially feminine energy that's saying to them, I'm not ready, but maybe at some point I will be. Those look so similar at this time that the masculine energy is potentially feeling the anxiety and degree of being uncertain if feminine energy is effectively closing a cycle with them right now or offering a slow down path forward. And this is where we see the masculine energy is in this moment that potentially feels so frustrating, because it's even potentially recognizing that in different degrees around you right now and having a hard time determining if it is one or the other. While for the masculine and the feminine energy right now that is experiencing union or in partnership, these are some outside situations or scenarios that are feeling like very critical right now, and they're hitting some setbacks. But again, you're supporting each other and recognizing that this is something that you're enduring together. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Wands in its reversal, which is something we really like to see today. Because what we're really identifying is happening at this moment is the fact that while there are some setbacks, while there are some hurdles that are being experienced, this isn't becoming a point that's stopping you. This is actually calibrating and motivating the energy right now. The fear of failure is actually what's navigating and motivating further activity today, which I think is really important across the entire board as to all of the energies at this time. It's almost like that anxiety and fear of failure is what is driving success today. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Wands in its reversal. This is that moment right now that is feeling so difficult right now for the feminine energy, because we do see that while the feminine energy is moving right now in a state or space where they're trying to be very emotional balanced, there are some situations and circumstances at play right now for the feminine that feel like they are making it very difficult for the feminine to be able to do the things that they need to do or be able to be in their most authentic expression of self at this time. This is some of that potential situation or setback that the feminine is effectively trying to navigate at this moment. Feminine energy right now is effectively looking at these situations and circumstances, and they're feeling some of that lack of empowerment at this time. They're potentially even feeling a level or degree of not necessarily even wanting to contribute more discussion around some things right now. I need to stress this. There are some issues, and this is potentially, I need to stress this right now. For the masculine energy that is experiencing some moments right now, with feminine energy that you're trying to come into a space of healing, and the feminine energy doesn't seem like they want to engage very much. This is why we see the anxiety of the feminine coming into play. Because there's something around these situations and experiences that the feminine is having, potentially around the unhealed karmic connections, that feminine energy has learned a very important, valuable lesson. What was the lesson that the feminine energy learned around the unhealed karmic connections? That when an energy is in an unhealed karmic connection, then it doesn't even work to do anything or to say anything to try to heal it. Because the feminine energy has experienced circumstances or situations that when they try to heal something, when they try to put practical support in situations or circumstances where they feel like they're misunderstood or they're misseen, those things are then utilized against them to be even more reasons why they are misunderstood and unseen. It's almost like feminine energy doesn't want to contribute more, knowing that anything that they say in those unhealed karmic energies is just going to be effectively transformed or tried to be used against them in some capacity. And feminine energy doesn't want to engage in that kind of dialogue with unhealed energy, because it doesn't lead to a productive space for actual development or solutions. It just leads to feminine energy creating more fodder for unhealed karmic energies to effectively try to throw back at the feminine. This is why the feminine energy is effectively pulling away from some of this unhealed energy right now, even if it's trying to come back into contact with them or come back into connection with them, because the feminine energy is already feeling so much trepidation that they're almost feeling like they can't say anything because they're worried that anything that they say is almost immediately going to be used as some point of armament against them. And this is feminine energy effectively feeling a lot of sadness and difficulty as they experience and understand this, even as it's actively happening. This could even be feeling right now for a lot of the feminine energy that someone that you were hoping would come into contact with you is back in contact with you, but you find right now that you almost can't speak to them for fear of what may occur in the past occurring again in the present. For masculine, this is effectively looking potentially at some of this energy and feeling the anxiety and the degree of anxiety of seeing some of this feminine energy being so hesitant to be able to be their most authentic expression of self around you. Again, this could be you recognizing this in the feminine right now. If you're going towards this energy right now, you're almost at a point which is potentially so devastating for the masculine right now in seeing the fact that the feminine is in this vibration, recognizing and feeling like that aspect is effectively closed off to you to some degree, but also recognizing to a certain extent that there's not necessarily anything that you can do about it at this time. Because you recognize, again, that these are either experiences that you've had with the feminine that have brought them into this quality or perspective, or that this is new energy that you recognize the hurdles and traumas that have led the feminine energy to be in this vibration. And it's creating a moment right now that is a little bit difficult for the masculine, because while you may be trying to assist right now the feminine energy that's in this vibration, you're also recognizing that the feminine energy is very hesitant to articulate upon it. That's something that we're almost seeing here. This is that moment of trying to get the feminine energy to come out of their shell, right? They're trying to get them to be in a space or place of allowing for that degree or level of trust to come forth. For feminine energy right now, this is that closing up that we're seeing. That's more of that moment of trying to be very careful and cautious about how you speak, where you speak, what you do right now, because you're recognizing the importance and power about being able to come into a space or place of authenticity, but also realizing that you need to protect your energy. Because if the energy is not necessarily in a space or place that they want to work with you, then they're going to effectively not be something that is helpful or productive to you at this time. So this is, again, why we see a lot of this energy calling back their energy at this moment. But for the sake of their own resilience is what we're really seeing here. For masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership at this time, this is feminine energy potentially being in this vibration, having this moment or situation or circumstance where it is hard for the feminine energy to speak upon things. But what we're actually seeing to a certain extent right now is while the masculine energy is experiencing this right now and they're feeling the support, the emotional support of the masculine energy right now is potentially rising up to defend the feminine energy that's in this vibration today. There may even be something here about recognizing to a certain degree that masculine sees the fact that they identify that the feminine has these areas and wanting to put a lot of immediate practical work into doing something to fix it is what we're really seeing here. Even potentially beyond the feminine energy's own, I need to stress for some of the masculines right now, I need to stress this if you're in partnership. I need to stress this. If you are in partnership today and you're seeing something that is triggering you in terms of something that is happening right now to your feminine, I want you to be very careful and cautious to make sure that whatever steps that you're proceeding to take are steps that the feminine energy would be copacetic with you taking. Because what we're really seeing here is the fact that this could indicate a step where masculine is effectively trying to step in and intercede on behalf of feminine energy. So that might be something that may be a bit of a trigger or a challenge today, especially for the energies that are in partnership. So, and again, especially with some of that Knight of Swords energy that we saw yesterday, masculine, just be a little bit attentive to that, okay? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Star energy. So, feminine energy, this is very important. This is the lesson that we're seeing that the feminine energy was coming out of the retrograde cycle with. It's not the fact that feminine energy is not trying to be in a space of being their full, authentic expression of self. Feminine energy is using a lot of discretion to decide where and to how and to whom they do so. Feminine energy is recognizing the value and significance of that. Feminine energy is even potentially recognizing some moments right now around them where they don't necessarily feel that that is possible, productive, or even helpful. And feminine energy is taking the steps right now in a way, all for the sake of guarding their own energy. This is guarding the work that the feminine energy did or learned through the Venus in retrograde cycle in terms of not the fact that they cannot be in an open, honest space or place right now, but being very discriminate into whom is able to have access to that type of energy. For masculine right now, this is also effectively seeing that to some level or degree, that this is a moment right now that we are seeing that masculine is trying to move towards feminine at this time. Masculine is recognizing the fact that feminine is in this vibration or has these qualities at this moment. Masculine energy, for their part, is feeling the frustration of the blockage, because while they may be trying to move with a lot of determination towards this type of energy right now, there's also that recognition and orientation right now that the feminine energy still has a lot of walls up, to do that. Okay? And that is the frustration point for masculine, because now masculine can't tell that these walls up, if feminine slowing them down is saying to them, I need to do this slowly to make sure that this is some safe area to move into, versus that actually being a specific wall that they're not going to be able to penetrate. For masculine and feminine energy in partnership right now, do not be surprised if you don't see a lot of spaces or places where masculine is potentially rising to the challenge to potentially aid, abet, or even potentially defend a feminine energy that they are feeling in some way, shape, or form isn't being appreciated to the degree or capacity that they would desire them to be. I need to point out that this is a bit of a trigger point that could potentially be happening right now in the union partnered energies, because we are seeing right now that there's a lot of concentration on unhealed situations and circumstances happening outside of the relationships that feel somewhat devastating. And a lot of them are bringing the feminine energy into a space or place where they either feel like they can't be their authentic, open expression or self, or feels to a certain level or degree like the feminine energy may even potentially feel defamed enough in those circumstances that they're not speaking for themselves, which could lead to the masculine having these moments of feeling that they need to intercede and step in on the feminine's behalf. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the world in its reversal. I'm going to say this once for anyone who's in partnership today, okay? Make sure everybody is in alignment with what one person is effectively trying to do. Because what could potentially happen now? I need to stress this. There's some circumstances and outside the divine union energy right now that feels like it is moving in a way that is difficult, potentially for the feminine right now in those partnerships. Masculine wants to effectively step in. We're seeing this. Masculine wants to effectively step in to a certain extent. This may lead, make sure that the choices or the steps that you're taking in these right now is going to lead for points of easement, not further conflict. There could even be some points of conflict that are happening right now between the masculine and feminine energy in partnership, because masculine may have some ideas in terms of what they want to do around some things. Feminine, again, being the emotional balanced one in this situation or circumstance right now, may be the one to be like, are you nuts? Don't do that. That'll just make something worse. Okay? So that's just something to pay attention to right now if you're in union or partnership energy. Masculine and feminine energy not in partnership right now. This is some chaos. There is some chaos that is effectively happening right now. But there's also a moment that feels like it is very difficult because it is almost observing the chaos in each other's situations or circumstances. As we said, feminine energy's got like the unpartnered feminine energy right now has a lot of a wall around them at this time. Feminine energy is also recognizing the fact that the wall that they're putting up is there for a good reason. The problem is not even the fact that the feminine energy wants to have a wall up around them at this time. They don't. Feminine energy doesn't want to be moving in this way. We saw that during the Venus in retrograde cycle. Feminine energy is teaching themselves how to have these boundaries. And it feels very frustrating to the feminine because feminine can actually observe the fact that having to put off the masculine energy that they have intentions towards right now, that they're trying to move towards, but at a slower pace, is already causing some chaos. Feminine is causing chaos for the feminine as well. But feminine energy is effectively having to balance their own desire to move quickly and forward right now, their own passion towards potential masculine energy, to trying to navigate the chaos that doing so may introduce. This is feminine balancing between these 2 points. That's that risk energy that we still keep seeing here. Feminine energy is desiring to move forward right now towards masculine, but they're also absolutely afraid of the chaos. And it's almost like a wall between them and the masculine energy that's coming through right now, because it has nothing to do with desire. And it has everything to do with trying to preserve the sanctity and the sanity of the life that they've been trying to create for themselves, and that sense of balance at this moment. Masculine, this is so frustrating because you're effectively seeing it potentially from the other side. You are either recognizing and understanding the fact why this feminine energy, if you've had past connections with them, is so hesitant to let you back in. You completely identify now the perspective of the cycle that led you to this point. You have perception and understanding of how they view things. For the other part of the masculine energy right now, this isn't necessarily even your cycle, but again, you've gone through enough of this cycle yourself. You've seen enough of this cycle that you completely understand why you are finding the feminine energy in this vibration of being so closed off. You totally get it. And it is also frustrating because, again, you are doing everything you can to try to clarify to the feminine energy that you are not going to bring that level of chaos in because you identify it now. But the problem is that the feminine energy, you also understand why the feminine energy is effectively saying, I've heard that before. I've heard that before. I experienced that before. I know that, that's not that even trying to articulate to the feminine energy, this is still a very guarded energy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Hangman in combination with our Queen of Wands. This is hairy energy right now for feminine, because this is feminine energy right now going through some situations or circumstances that feel to a certain level or degree that they are very overwhelming and devastating. There are some cycles that are closing out right now. Feminine energy, and there's some points of disappointment that are associated with that as well. Feminine energy is effectively holding their ground at this moment. They're allowing this to be a balance point. They're allowing themselves to maintain a point of emotional balance through these hurdles and difficulties. But again, recognizing right now that this is a blend right now of utilizing this time to gain insight. This is, again, a lot of that moment that if feminine energy is putting masculine energy off to any way, shape, or degree right now, it is feminine energy trying to really utilize that to help ascertain if this is energy that they can effectively trust, that they can allow in to a certain extent. And feminine energy is feeling very frustrated in doing so, even as they do it. Because feminine energy is not necessarily doing effectively the thing that they desire to do at this time. They're moving almost from a state of protectiveness. And it's feeling like something here that the move that they're feeling like they need to make right now is to stay in this position, to hold, to be able to get that insight, to be able to get that clarity. Masculine, you are also seeing this right now on the side of the feminine. You're seeing the fact that the feminine energy is trying to overcome or go through some of these circumstances or situations. You're potentially even trying to come in and lend support, but the feminine energy is feeling very guarded. They're working very hard to try to protect their own energy at this time. It is requiring a level or degree that feels very frustrating at this moment, because you are also recognizing that you are balancing between that point of trying to come into union with an energy that feels very trepidatious in terms of letting you in. Or if this is new energy, this is similarly an energy that is very trepidatious in letting you in. There's a lot of these guardrails up, and you are having to employ a level of degree of time to help bring this energy into a better balance or vibration that they'll be open to you. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is in partnership, this is feeling very difficult today, because there's something about the masculine energy observing the fact that while the feminine energy is going through some moments right now and really maintaining a beautiful level and degree of emotional balance, it might not necessarily even feel very fair for the masculine to see the position that the feminine is in at this time. There's a lot of frustration here because there's something about seeing and recognizing some situations that have to do with some outside energy right now that is creating a lot of frustration for the masculine right now. Feminine is effectively employing this moment of trying to hold firm, trying to stay in this point of steadiness throughout this. Masculine energy, this is a little bit more challenging because we see here that masculine wants to take more direct actions. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Empress. Thank you so much for the gift. What we're really identifying and experiencing that is very lovely at this time is, again, what were we trying to do throughout this whole cycle right now? This was feminine energy trying to open up their heart space, okay? We see that this path, why is feminine engaging in this path? Why is feminine holding back in terms of fulfilling their own desires at this time? Even when they want to. Even as it relates to the masculine energy that's coming forward, because they're moving in this state of space of protection right now. Feminine energy is experiencing that moment of heart opening, even as they're going through this moment right now. Because even being able to do this right now, they recognize that this is what their heart needs. It may be frustrating in the immediate moment because it is making them have to close down their passionate center for a bit. But they're doing that. They're closing down their passionate center for the sake of opening their heart space, right? This is that balancing act that we're seeing here that is being required, and it's requiring a level or degree of patience right now for the feminine. And feminine's basically saying, like, I'm willing to put myself in this difficult situation of not being able to immediately move to fulfill into my passionate center because I'm waiting for that. I'm giving myself the time to allow that heart to open. And recognizing that, again, the masculine energy that is truly committed to them, that is not moving to them for the sake of their own purposes or their own passions or their own devices, but that truly values the importance and the significance and the care of the feminine at this time, is going to be an energy that is not going to move away from the feminine for them coming into that opening of the heart space. They're going to do everything they can to cultivate that rose. They're going to do everything they can to grow that into a sense of something that feels more robust at this time, right? This is the difference between like plucking a flower and letting a flower grow. And feminine is effectively in this vibration and this space right now where they're utilizing the actions and the patience of the masculine energy to determine which one that will be. That is what feminine is effectively utilizing right now to help determine the difference between a divine partnership and union before an unhealed karmic energy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Wands and its reversal in combination with our World and its reversal. So feminine energy is also trying to and for masculine, sorry, I need to back up for a minute. For the masculine energy that's effectively seeing this right now, this is potentially you recognizing this. This is potentially you seeing this right now and recognizing this in the feminine. The problem with the masculine right now is you can't tell the difference between what is happening because you've also gone through some trauma yourself. You can't tell the fact if the feminine energy is coming in from a space or place of trying to navigate some point that feels like it is serving their own purposes, potentially even manipulative, or if they're in a space or place where they're coming from a sense of authenticity. Like I said, you can't tell right now, masculine, if one or the other is occurring. If feminine energy is closing you out, closing up, moving away from you, ending a cycle, or if they're opening up and it's taking time. And the only problem with this for the masculines that are feeling this is unfortunately they look so similar right now that you're right. You have to wait and see. That's the point. Do you understand? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Do you get it? Do you see the two sides of this penny? Do you see them? Do you understand? Okay? These are the same stories from different sides if you listen very carefully to what I am saying right now. Okay? Please listen. All right, we're going to go through. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, let's continue. All right. When you say hold on and wait, did you just hear what I said? I cannot say it any clearer. Did anyone just hear what I said? Thank you for the people who hear me. Okay, continuing clarification right now. Between the Queen of Wands and its reversal. Thank you. You guys, you got the ones, you get it. You get what, do you understand what I'm saying? Everyone's going, so do I wait or not? And I just literally said to you that the energy is literally waiting to see if you know how to wait. And yeah, you're not sure either way, because that's the whole point. Like, oh my, okay, I'm sorry. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now. Between our Queen of Wands in its reversal and the World card in its reversal. Okay? So, feminine energy, I have to stress, there's a certain level of degree here, and I need to point this out. This is like what's really happening with feminine right now, which masculine doesn't seem to navigate, and what also is something that needs to good, very important to keep in mind. There's a point right now that while feminine energy is focused right now on divine partnership and divine union, the other reason that feminine is effectively calling back their energy right now is because feminine honestly has other things that they need to attend to. Feminine energy is navigating right now a sense of chaos. There's literally a moment right now where feminine energy, even for the partnerships we're seeing, this is the fact that feminine energy being like the divine partnerships need to understand bandwidth right now and what is and is not possible, because feminine energy is pulling back their own energy to such a degree right now, because feminine energy is trying to navigate or mitigate some feelings or sense of chaos that they're currently experiencing in their own life and in their own surroundings at this time. A lot of the bandwidth issues that masculine is potentially seeing with feminine right now potentially don't even have anything to do with the connection itself. They have everything to do with the fact of feminine saying, like, I am so busy at this moment that I don't have time to concentrate on trying to slowly. That's why feminine doesn't have time to heal anything right now. Feminine is just trying to move into a state of getting into a better easement of operation. This is a lot of that Mercury retrograde energy coming into play right now. Feminine energy feeling like they've got a lot on their plate. They're trying to deal with a lot of stuff right now, even mostly outside of the relationship. Feminine energy is trying to navigate some chaos right now, and it's creating a sense of disempowerment for them that's making it hard for them to be able to communicate or plan, even in the realms right now of divine union and partnership, let alone anything that is unhealed, which is why feminine energy is effectively moving into this space or state that's kind of saying, like, if you're not in a space of being able to support what we're trying to create together or be supportive, then you just have to kind of move aside right now, because feminine energy doesn't have the bandwidth. Masculine, you're effectively seeing this right now in the feminine too. You're also seeing the fact that there's something around this energy that feels like there is some chaos that needs to be navigated. You're seeing, but the problem here, no, this is actually what's happening. Masculine energy, you may even be identifying and understanding this right now, but the problem is that the feminine energy not communicating to you in a consistent way is the chaos. It's what's creating the chaos for you right now. You're almost like, I understand that you're very busy, but you need to effectively understand that you not communicating to me in a consistent way, or not communicating or being open in this way, because the masculine energy has been missing this energy. That is what creates the chaos for the masculine right now. They're like, that's the problem for the masculine right now. The lack of communication from this feminine is the chaos. Masculine and feminine energy right now. This is that moment in partnership that I want you to be really careful about. The actions of one is make sure is confirmed by the both, because what we're seeing here right now is, again, feminine energy is going through some sense of trying to mitigate chaos. Feminine energy is trying to be as emotionally supportive to masculine as possible right now as they navigate their own chaos. The difference right now in the chaos that is being navigated right now between the masculine and the feminine energy in partnership at this moment is the fact that the masculine energy is much more willing right now to take immediate action on things. Feminine energy has some chaos or some chaotic situations with outside energy right now where they think it's best to hold back. They think it's best to refrain. And masculine is in the opposite vibration, which could lead to further chaos. And I feel like there may be a lot of discussions right now in terms of what masculine may want to do around a situation right now versus what feminine may feel is best. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Swords and its reversal. Some situations, some open-ended situations that need to be resolved. For feminine and masculine energy, this is going to be heavily on the board for today. Feminine energy is probably putting a lot of care and consideration into some open-ended items that they feel will make things easier for them going forward. Very, very retrograde energy. very, very retrograde. We've got a ton of planets in retrograde still. Masculine energy in partnership as well. This is potentially even helping feminine energy navigate some of these open-ended items that are creating this sense of chaos to a certain degree around the feminine right now. Again, though there may be a moment right now, especially if this has to do with outside people, that like there may be some different approaches that may be wanting to be taken about like what's occurring and how to resolve it. So that's just something to keep in mind right now. Now, for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in partnership, this is feeling the weight of the open partnership. Feminine energy, I need to stress, these situations and circumstances right now, it's not that the fact that there hasn't been a connection point created chaos for the feminine. Feminine energy is just being very cautious in their approach and how to correct for that chaos. Feminine energy has experienced points of anxiety and overgiving to situations that only cause more chaos. That is why feminine energy is feeling such a conflict point right now, because they're trying to be patient and slow around things, but even doing so is still creating a lot of the chaos that they found themselves in prior to this point. There could even be a moment of frustration that feminine's feeling right now about the idea or feeling like you waited for something to happen for a long point of time, and now it's happening, but you feel like you can't engage upon it the way that you would ideally engage upon it because your anxiety and fear is still there. Because that's the point. You're trying to ascertain if something has healed or not, because you didn't want something to come back. You wanted something to come back healed. Masculine, for their part, has learned some lessons right now. They're trying to come back towards feminine in some way, shape, or form. Either past connections coming back to feminine, having learned these lessons, or going into new energies with the new lessons. But the fact is that for masculine, they're seeing all the feminine energy in this like hold, back off kind of thing as they navigate this territory. And it's requiring a lot of addressing, a lot of the dressing of the past. Having to really, it's really a moment for the masculine that you recognize that you can't just ignore. You can't just ignore what happened in the past. Even if it wasn't something, I need to stress for the masculine right now, even if it wasn't yours, you need to kind of be in a space or place where you can talk to the feminine about what these things that occurred were that led them into the space or place of being so anxious in the first place. For masculine and feminine energy, for all of them right now, this is heavy retrograde. Final card in our 5-card spread for today. Clarification between our Empress card in combination with our 5 of Swords in its reversal. We love to see this Empress energy in its upright today, because this is the heart opening that we ideally desire to see from the feminine. This is that moment that even through, I need to point out, feminine's heart is opening right now, not because everything is copacetic, but because feminine is effectively making the choice right now to follow their heart. There's an anxiety here that we see is rising to the surface right now. There's a feeling right now, even about the doors that opens right now, the anxieties coming to play, recognizing right now, again, this is that risk coming in right now that feminine even has to acknowledge about moving forward in this capacity. But feminine energy is effectively almost forcing themselves. Feminine is like forcing themselves into a heart opening right now, because feminine energy is effectively saying like, I refuse to move forward in this way without my heart space open. Feminine energy is really kind of in a moment right now where they're looking back at past situations, and even if they have to balance the past situation coming back in, they're choosing themselves. They're choosing their own heart. They're choosing love. And this is feminine energy looking at those past situations and almost forcing that heart opening by saying like, I'm choosing to be able to love, but also recognizing that love of others needs to start with the love of the self. For masculine right now, this is effectively seeing a feminine energy in this vibration. This is potentially even seeing a feminine energy that's going through a great degree of hardship right now, as it relates to them circumstances and situations around them at this time. But you're seeing the fact and you're identifying the fact that the feminine energy is not letting this shut them down, but it's letting them come into a space of being their most authentic expression of self. It's becoming a heart-opening exercise. And that is giving you further confirmation and affirmation that you're trying to move towards this energy. For masculine and feminine energy right now, this is the beauty of the partnership, because feminine is expressing a huge degree of emotionality and emotional support right now, particularly around situations and circumstances that have been difficult or have been trying, that require that level of degree of open-endedness. This is masculine getting the emotional support from feminine, more of that emotional balance, and that's helping you address some of these open-ended situations from the past, potentially even dealing with some trauma, either trauma on the part of the feminine that needs to be navigated from this time, or effectively being able to take care of some situations or circumstances that are causing some degree of frustration right now for both of your energies, but with a focus on things that the feminine needs to resolve to make things easier for them going forward. Final card for today's spread. What beautiful card to end today with. We've got here our King of Pentacles. They were out on the board yesterday. They're out on the board today. Look at this beautiful combination here. This is the ideal, this is some beautiful union energy that's coming through right now as it relates to divine union. Because what we really see here, this is what we are looking for in the divine union. Feminine energy being in a space of being emotionally available, emotionally strong, having that sense of love with healthy boundaries. And masculine energy coming into a state or space of really trying to lend that level or degree of stability to circumstances or situations. This is creating a really beautiful union energy, especially if you're in partnership, divine partnership today, that is allowing you to not necessarily even address the partnership itself, but it's almost potentially even allowing you to address some of the situations and the circumstances from the past that brought you both here. Maybe a lot of conversations around traumas from the past or circumstances that both grew you into the situations or the circumstances that you find yourself in. For masculine and feminine energy right now that's not in partnership, a lot of this conversation of the journey that's led you to where you are so far is potentially going to help fortify what you're effectively building forward at this moment. Because feminine is effectively wanting to see that identification point of masculine energy, understanding the lessons that they needed to learn about themselves that built this level of degree of stability around them at this time. And masculine, for their part, is also trying to utilize this as a connection point to help the feminine feel more open and available to them in terms of being able to feel like they can be open. But it almost comes from a point of mutual sharing, of mutual recognition that's helping to build that stability as you go forward from this point. For partnership energy, this is feeling that support as you do so. Bottom of the deck on today's spread. Practical matters. Practical matters are the bottom of the deck today. Because the thing is, there's a lot of energy here. Listen, there's a lot of work right now. Look, there's a lot of work on partnership. I need to stress right now, and that's what's really important about this, even the energy that is in divine union and partnership, there's going to be discussions around partnership as it relates to outside energies. Again, that idea of the fact that a lot of this doesn't necessarily need to be a romantic partnership, but outside partnerships to see what needs to be amended and corrected for. So there is this state or place right now of really having to also attend to some practical matters that may almost feel like they're getting in the way of some of those deeper conversations that you're trying to have or work through right now. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video with the option of a recording sent to you afterwards. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a reading on my website, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please, 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 please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never PM you. I will never inbox you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way that you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing in this reading. And